Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Discussing Comics. I'm Kyle.
I'm Clarence.
And on this episode, we're going to be going back specifically, I think, maybe both of our childhoods, but I really enjoyed one of these episodes. We're talking about a Netflix series called The Toys That Made Us.
Yeah, I was a wee lad when most of this stuff came out.
I was a little kid too, but I really remembered the Star Wars episode was like, oh wow, that was so cool.
Yeah, man, it's cool to see how a lot of these toys were created. A lot of the designs, how they worked with Lucasfilm to get these made. Just a really cool inside look into how these toys were actually brought to market and actually kind of shoved down our throats a bit near the end of the run.
And look, I was the kid that was sitting there going, please give me toys. I was all about Star Wars. And you know, what was cool about this was like memory lane, because I could remember that, and I'd forgotten it, but I could remember sitting there and not getting the toys originally, and then, you know, the craze of when they did come out. So that was really cool to me.
Yeah, it's funny to look at how the toys have went from, you know, back then they didn't articulate as much, and now where they look almost, you know, pixel for pixel like the people who actually portraying them, and they can articulate in all kind of ways. It was really interesting to see the actual inception of that, and actually to see one of my favorite toys, which I never had and I really wanted, the Millennium Falcon.
I don't think I had that either. I did not have a Millennium Falcon. I didn't have a Boba Fett either.
Oh yeah, the one with the thing that was putting kids' eyes out, apparently. Yeah, in addition to Star Wars, we had He-Man, which, man, I was a huge He-Man fan.
I was too.
You know that show is actually on Netflix now.
No, I didn't, but
it will destroy your childhood. Don't go watch it.
Okay, so let me ask you this.
Bad.
From knowing me, who do you think my favorite character on He-Man was?
Probably Skeletor. That's going to be my guess. Well, am I right, sir?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't Skeletor. It was actually Orko.
Orko, yeah. Orko
I liked
cool.
Orko.
You know, the comedy relief of the show. He was pretty good.
I liked. Who was your favorite?
I was a He-Man guy. I love He-Man. But it's funny looking back. Of course, He-Man, Prince Adam was not an original part of the He-Man toy line. Just to back up a little bit, the toys came first, and when they went to market He-Man, I forgot who they were pitching to. Like, oh yeah, we got a cartoon too.
Yes.
And that's how the cartoon came about. Prince Adam was a part of the cartoon creation. But just really interesting to see how all those things came about.
Especially it was more Conan the Barbarian.
Yeah.
And then it became more fantasy with the cartoon kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely check that out on Netflix. You'll see how the design changed from the original inception. And it's also cool to see all these different founders, He-Man, G.I. Joe, Star Wars, maybe less so in Star Wars case, but to see how these different creators said, I was the one that created this. Yes. And this kind of this tug of war back and forth about who actually created the design.
And you know, we see that over and over, whether it's toys, whether it's comic book characters.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, that's just, if you don't have a clear understanding of who's the creator.
Yeah.
You know, so I did not get to see the G.I. Joe. So tell me, what stood out? Were you a big G.I. Joe fan?
Oh man, I'm gonna tell you the part that I really, really love. That original theme song that we hear in the cartoon, it was like pitched early on, and it was like one of their earliest recordings of trying to sell the toys.
Okay.
You know, I think it came out the inception of it was even before the show actually came out on TV. So I thought that was really good because it was like they didn't change anything, they just went the same song. But I mean, I love the G.I. Joe because, you know, if you look at the early G.I. Joes, they were like, they basically were making dolls for boys.
Okay.
That's basically how it all started. And I think the thing that really made it take off was when they shrunk them down to the 6-inch figures. But the G.I. Joe one is really good as well. Oh, what I love, before you go,
no, go ahead.
What I love about the G.I. Joe is the vehicles. That was like my favorite thing growing up about G.I. Joe.
So were you a big G.I. Joe collector as a kid?
I'm not gonna say collector. I was just a kid getting toys. Mostly at that time, maybe from rummage sales and hand-me-downs. And you know, by the time I started collecting most of those things, it was pretty much, I'm not gonna say out of the general psyche, but it was at the end of its run.
Gotcha.
So I had vehicles galore, man. I remember having floor spread out with vehicles from end to end of the room connected to each other. It was pretty awesome.
Cool.
I'm geeking out on G.I. Joe right now.
I can tell, but I was geeking out on Star Wars, so.
Yeah, but He-Man is the same way. I loved He-Man. I can remember begging my mom for He-Man toys growing up. So, hey, the 80s, great toys. Man.
You know, an interesting anecdote or, you know, a side note to the He-Man. This is a little bit of my own OCD. I would, even though I loved He-Man, I would not buy them because the figures were bigger than my Star Wars figures. And I couldn't play with both of them because the He-Man, my brain said they're always going to win because these others are smaller.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And I think one of the things around He-Man is they wanted to make the toys, I guess, less anatomically correct because they were, you know, stocky, and so that was a bit of a change for the time. But you know, it's funny how we went from this being initially portrayed maybe as dolls for boys to action figures, and that was a big part of the documentary as well.
Yeah. The interesting thing too is there are other episodes now that have been loaded that will be a little bit more transformative, maybe?
Yeah, I saw on IMDb where there are 4 more episodes coming up. I can't remember all of them, but I do know Transformer will be in that lineup, so I can't wait for the Transformers one because I love the Transformers.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong here, but were the original Transformers, weren't they metal?
I don't know because I got them later. Okay. I got them later. I never had the original ones, but I don't know. I think certainly some of them were.
I think the first ones were metal, and I think just like the Voltron behind me, the first Voltrons were made out of metal.
Oh, the first Voltrons were so freaking awesome. I used to be so jealous people have those, man. But man, I can remember back in school, we'd have these, I don't know, trade sale days, and the teachers would sell stuff too, but like everybody would just bring their toys. And it was wonderful.
Barter day.
I'm geeking out. Also, we are going to have the Star Trek episode, and as well as a Hello Kitty, which I'm less interested in, and a Lego episode that'll be coming up on the toys that made us. You can check that out on Netflix. Really cool. I think you'll love it. If you're anywhere whereas about in the 80s growing up, it's definitely a gem.
And another episode that unfortunately are just a happenstance that Clarence and I were not interested in. There was also a Barbie episode, but again, we're action figures, we're guys, so
whatever floats your boat.
Whatever floats your boat. Live long and prosper, and whatever works.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. Make sure you click that subscribe button, and we'll see you next time. Next time. Live long and prosper.
Please give me toys.